Waiting for the three of you. Good morning, everyone. And good morning to those who might be watching us on cable. We're doing this press conference live this morning. We wanted to call a press conference to talk about some of the activities that have been occurring in the community and hear from the police chief. Talk a little bit about how we're responding to that. But I wanted to say first that to express our sympathy to the Flourney family for the horrific act of the double homicide there on Northview Terrace. We want to express our sympathy on behalf of the Township Committee and also the entire town of Maplewood to the family. And also we want to extend our condolences to the neighbors. Spent some time talking to the neighbors the other evening, and they are distraught, as you might imagine, from having lost someone who was a part of the fabric of that block and that community. So we wanted to express our sympathy. There's really no way you can explain what happened there. We also want to assure you that Maplewood is safe and that the Township Committee is working closely with the police department to make sure that we're addressing anything that might be coming up. We, on a monthly basis, our Public Safety Committee of the Township Committee meets with the Chief of Police. We go over various crime statistics and make adjustments, speak to the Chief about making adjustments as needed. We also, at the last meeting, authorized the Chief to use overtime. We've been watching overtime, trying to limit it. But in this instance, we authorized him to use his discretion in adding overtime to make sure our patrols are maintained and our crime prevention activities are implemented. We've given him approval to apply for a special grant, hire an officer, and he'll talk about that. And on April 5th, the Township Committee is interviewing new candidates for the police to fill the vacancies that we have, because we want to stay ahead of the curve, make sure that we have candidates in line so that as police officers retire, we can replace them quickly and get them on the street. Again, I want to say that Maplewood is a safe community. And I can assure you that to the Township Committee, there's no greater responsibility than to keep you safe. Protect your families, protect your properties, and to protect our community. And want to also ask you, though, to be partners with us. Join with us, join with the police department in keeping our community safe. Last night, there was a group from the streets around the high school, Kensington, North Terrace, who met with the police officers, the lieutenant working on crime prevention, and they are launching a neighborhood block watch program. We need more. We're asking you to go back to your communities, wherever you might be, anywhere in town, and work with your neighbors in crafting a anti-crime prevention program and working with the police department to do that. We need more residents involved, and you'll hear from the chief as to how that might happen. And I want to also send a message to everyone that Maplewood has zero tolerance for crime. You know, crime, people say crime's going to happen everywhere, and it may happen everywhere, but it's not going to be tolerated in Maplewood. We're going to do whatever we can do under the parameters of the law, stop crime, and if it happens, to deal with it quickly, swiftly, and as forcefully as we can. I'd like to introduce two of my colleagues and ask them to come up, and then I'll introduce the chief. I have the Deputy Mayor Kathy Leventhal, and also Township Committeeman Marlon Brownlee. Marlon is also the chair of our Public Safety Committee. The other member of our Public Safety Committee, India Larrier, Township Committeewoman India Larrier. I'd now like to introduce Chief Cimino.
Thank you, Mayor, and good morning, everyone. Thank you all for attending, those who are here and those who are watching. As the Mayor indicated, we felt it was important to be able to speak to the public about what our general crime prevention activities are and what our response has been to some of the recent criminal activity that's occurred in Maplewood. What we can't discuss today are the details of the homicide investigation and some details of other investigations which may be ongoing and are being investigated by our Detective Bureau currently. So, as the Mayor indicated, Maplewood is a safe community, and in the police department we do a number of activities, use a number of programs to try to maintain the safety of the community. The most recent violent crimes are uncharacteristic of Maplewood, and they should not be viewed as a trend of related acts. While several have occurred in a relatively short period, there is no specific link to indicate that they are necessarily related, and some, in fact, we know are not. In the areas where these things have happened, we have assigned additional units, both marked and unmarked. I think most of the neighborhoods will have made observations of that, so that they will be able to feel a degree of additional safety and security by seeing our officers in those areas more frequently. And as the Mayor also indicated, we've been authorized to allocate additional resources in the form of overtime for specialized targeted enforcement for street crimes and any other crime trend that we do see. Let you know what we normally do in terms of a standard of policing methodology. We utilize community-oriented policing, but we also are data-driven in our allocation of our police officers to areas of crime. And what we mean by that is that we map our crime and we try to allocate officers to be in the areas where crimes have occurred, or through the intelligence that we gather from other agencies that we work with, where crimes may occur in the future. And by doing that, we feel we've been fairly successful in maintaining the safety of our citizens. Our police activities are regularly reported and discussed with the members of the Public Safety Committee. And as the Mayor indicated, we have been authorized to apply for an additional officer under the Federal Cops Hiring Program. The application period has just opened up, and we will be submitting our application by the deadline date so that we get hopefully an additional officer on a 4-year grant program. So in addition to our unilateral efforts that we perform as the police agency in our response and our patrolling, we ask and attempt to, whenever possible, form a partnership with the community. We need that partnership because we want the community to help us to fight crime. And what I mean by that is in the form of alerting us to suspicious activity, joining together as a neighborhood or a community and forming a neighborhood watch program, requesting the services that we provide from the Crime Prevention Unit for home security surveys and talks for groups. We want our citizens to utilize those services and become more of a partner with us in fighting crime in Maplewood. Some of the other ways that I would like to engage the community in assisting in preventing crime and helping them protect themselves is by being proactive and security-minded. We want our residents to say something if they see something. Call the police and let us investigate it, whatever that may be. It's an individual that is walking around the property of a neighbor that you are not familiar with, we want to be called. We want residents to report if they see an individual who rings their doorbell and claims that they've arrived at a wrong address. We want people to not allow strangers into their homes and to check for identification from utility and service workers. We urge residents to lock their homes, cars, and businesses and use security lighting, security devices, and alarms when possible. We also ask that parents learn the names and the home addresses of their children's friends, and if possible, even get to meet their parents. We would urge them to monitor parties and contact us should there be any uninvited guests that show up at any parties on their property. We make these recommendations because over the course of time, we've seen a number of situations that have developed into criminal acts related to some of the protection situations that I just outlined. And while these aren't necessarily directly related to any of our recent incidents, we felt it was important to let the public know that these are all important crime prevention measures that they should take on a regular basis. In closing, I want to assure our citizens that the officers of the Maplewood Police Department will work diligently to protect them, and we will continue to provide the exceptional police service that they have come to expect. Thank you very much. I'm happy to take some questions.
Let's have the press ask questions first, and then anyone else who wants to ask a question.
Yes. First. Yes. Well, as I think you're aware, once an investigation has the potential to be a homicide, it is taken over by the Essex County Prosecutor's Office. They become the lead agency, and it is through the Prosecutor's Office that all public information is released. So that really becomes the responsibility of the Essex County Prosecutor's Office, and that was their press release that was given out. We become secondary and supportive to their investigation. Yes, Mary.
Repeat the question so everyone could hear it.
Oh, I'm sorry, sure. The question is, with regard to the incident at St. Joseph's Church, Ms. Mann indicated that she heard that there were other incidents of a similar nature that have happened within the county, and are we working with other agencies to investigate, that possible link? The answer is yes. We have put out our bulletins regionally. We contact the agencies surrounding us to determine if there is any similarity whatsoever, or if there are potential suspects that they have for similar crimes, and our detectives are currently working with leads that they have as we speak now to follow up on that investigation. We do. We have a black male, his late 30s, approximately 5'10" to 6 foot, heavy build, dark jacket, dark pants, and that's about what we have at this time that we can release. Yes, Joe. Well, you raise a valid point in that a home invasion in general is usually focused and targeted for a purpose. They are generally not random, so there is a difference between that and a street crime where it is more of a crime of opportunity. Part of what we do as a police agency is to maintain a flow of intelligence, and if we are aware that things are happening at a certain time or in a certain neighborhood, we apply our resources into that area to try to suppress that type of crime and try to stop people that may fit the description of people that have been developed as suspects in those types of incidents. Yes, Carol. Question one is a description of the incident that occurred at St. Joseph's Church on Prospect Street. That incident was an assault and robbery of a worker when the worker walked in and interrupted an individual who was hiding in the rectory. She was assaulted and personal property was stolen from her, which constitutes a robbery. And that was that incident. We are investigating that now. With respect to an ideal number of police officers, we have had studies in the past. There are a variety of measures that are used for that. Generally, in an area of northern New Jersey, it is sometimes related to a ratio somewhere between 2.5 officers per 1,000 residents. However, that is really a function of what the municipal government can provide. Yes?
Chief, many of us have grown up in towns or currently live in towns where you say, you know what, you don't need to lock the door on your way out, or, you don't need to leave the light on at night, or we don't need to lock our cars in our driveway at night. Maplewood perhaps is one of those towns. Is it no longer one of those towns?
Well, I think it's just good security in 2012 for everybody to understand that crime can strike anywhere, and even in the best communities, which I consider Maplewood to be, I think it's important for everybody to practice good crime prevention and personal safety. Yes, Jeff?
What is the current number of officers? Didn't we have one or two positions about 2 years ago? Are those been replaced?
Our highest strength in the last 10 years was 66 officers in approximately 2007, 2008. Our current table of organization is authorized for 60. However, we are in the process of hiring to get back to that number. We are several positions down right now.
So what are you at now?
56.
56?
Correct.
They're all on the rest.
Correct.
Why have those 4 not been replaced? Or is that
Retirements that happen at the end of the year. And there's a process for, absolutely, there's a testing, evaluation process and a background process that is very rigorous, which requires us to take some time before we can just bring somebody on the department. Yes, Phil? We have seen about the same in our robberies, a couple higher. We have a spike in burglaries, which is inconsistent with what we had last year when we had about a 40% decline. Yes?
Yes, I'm Dr. Williams from Unit Safety
Well, we have one means in place as we speak, Doctor, and that is we have an officer assigned on foot patrol to Springfield Avenue who walks there almost daily. And part of her responsibility is to walk and talk and speak to the business owners and the citizens that she encounters and bring back to us any concerns that they have. So that is one means of communication that is ongoing currently. A way of improving that would be to further coordinate with the crime prevention unit, and we have discussed the opportunity we would have for one of our crime prevention officers to meet with the members of your committee on a periodic basis and give some recommendations for crime prevention and assistance.
The chief said if you say something if you see something. It's very important. We had an incident on Springfield Avenue where someone came into a store and the people were uncomfortable and the person left. And they never called the police. Last night I got an email about two men in the backyard of someone's house. The neighbor said, "What are you doing?" The people left. That neighbor never called the police. We need you to call the police. That's what we pay our taxes for. That's their job. We need you to call the police. Please say something if you see something. That's very important. And that's the message I would give to the merchants on Springfield Avenue, that if they feel that something's out of place in their store or on the avenue or in your neighborhoods, if you see something that's out of place, make the phone call. Okay.
All right. Well, I would urge you and restate what the mayor's response was, that if you're seeing that, please report it to us. I know that we had one arrest for a disorderly conduct behavior that arose out of an original complaint of an aggressive panhandler. So that is one example that I can state to you as an affirmative step by the police department to address an issue with an aggressive panhandler type of complaint. So once again, as the mayor indicated, we need to get that flow of information so that our officers are aware that it is an ongoing problem, and to bring that a little further, that concept a little further along. There are times that we are receiving a complaint, our officers are dispatched, and upon the officer's arrival, they cannot develop the probable cause to make an arrest. So they will investigate, but of course we have to balance what a report is with the rights of all citizens to be able to walk or stand in a particular area and not violate the law. So if there is an ongoing problem that's observed by a citizen, we need the citizen to make us aware that that problem is recurring so that we can go back, reinvestigate, and then possibly develop enough cause to take a police action.
So in order to take police action, does it have to be aggressive or could it be just panhandling?
If it's not putting the person in an uncomfortable state, people can ask for money. So unless there's a level of intimidation of some type, in other words, in the approach or what is said that makes that person, the victim, quote, victim, feel uncomfortable, that would not necessarily be a violation. So that has to be articulated to the dispatchers, and then we also have to have that person as a complaining witness, unless it is witnessed by the officer. See, some of the offenses that we talk about, which are important to us, which are quality of life type offenses, do not rise to the level of a crime. Crime has a different standard of proof, and an officer is empowered to take action on a crime that they did not witness. When it's an offense, and many of the quality of life types of offenses, such as disorderly conduct or aggressive panhandling, are reported to us, we're empowered to investigate those, but unless we have a complaining witness and the officer can make that person part of the case, if the officer doesn't observe the action, we are not empowered to make an arrest on something like that or even issue a summons.
Chief, just on the question of is crime the trend, could you talk about some of the clearance rates that we've had this year?
Well, right now, the clearance rate is at about 31%.
Say what that is.
It's, sorry, it's the number of crimes that, where we've either identified the individual involved or made an arrest for that particular case. So we feel that that's a fair. 31%. Averages, we're probably above the average right now, slightly above the average, yes.
With regards to the assault at St. Joseph's, I think it may be concerned the community was to help this individual enter the building and be safe from here. Will the police be working with the staff to improve their security measures?
We will. As a matter of fact, on one of our follow-ups to that incident, we spoke with a representative from the church as well as the pastor and advised them again that we will have a crime prevention unit officer available for them to do a survey of the church property and make recommendations for better security measures. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Okay. Well, to respond to that, what your representation was about what your husband was told would be incorrect. So we would want to talk to you a little bit more about how that happened, because that should not have been done. You're certainly entitled to make, and we encourage all people to make a report of any activity they see, and you can certainly remain anonymous. By remaining anonymous, there are certain things that we are required to do in terms of furthering an investigation. However, it does not mean that you should not wish to remain anonymous or be anonymous in making a complaint to the police department. And in terms of the level of activity there, I think that relates back to what your original complaint was. That complaint should have been taken and investigated without the need for a formal name to be left, and that would have then prompted an observation of the vehicles in the area. And yes, the general patrol patterns should have picked up the fact that vehicles were in that area after 2 a.m. Okay.
Take one or two more questions.
Let me get to the gentleman in the back. You didn't have. Yes, sir.
My question is, and I understand, you've got laws that you have to pay attention to, but is there a laissez-faire attitude to some police officers? Case in point, there was an alleged incident in Maplewood Village involving a brakes truck. The guy started a fight over alleged vagrant, started an argument with the driver. The driver got out of the truck, guns were drawn. Man wasn't arrested, apparently, from the witnesses told me. Should an arrest have been made? Should an example have been made? This individual
I think if I have to craft a question out of that, I will say my answer would be that we are not laissez-faire about our response to crime. When it comes to the rights of an individual to be on a park bench, if they are not committing a crime or an offense, they have a right to be on that park bench. The behavior that they exhibit throughout the time that they are there or walking our streets may at some point rise to the level of that type of behavior that can be acted upon by an officer. But the mere fact that someone may look homeless or be dressed different and be standing or sitting in Maplewood Village does not give a police officer the right to tell them to move or do anything else other than what they would do for any regular citizen. Yes, Jim.
Last question.
When I listen to the scanner, it does seem like every call is equal to me. And so my question is, we get police blotter, normally any of the serious crimes that involve arrests, people out in the field. And I know a lot of people like to say, when you're Irvington, you're across the Union, that may be difficult, when you're small park delivery. What can be done to not keep people out of town, obviously, but when your majority of your serious suspect crime is someone out of town, how can you deal with that from a protection standpoint? Maybe you can. I don't know.
Interesting question, and we actually do take steps to address what criminal threats may be around us, and if that's a way to frame an answer to your question. And that is that we get weekly reports from our urban neighbors in Newark, in Irvington. We coordinate with South Orange, Union, Milburn on a regular basis to determine what crimes they're seeing, and if they have suspect descriptions, we put those elements out to our patrols, to our detectives. We basically create an intelligence bulletin or a patrol alert that goes out to the officers, and every shift they are provided with the information about what recent incidents have happened, not only in Maplewood, but in the towns around us. And that is our way of dealing with that without, quote, trying to just keep people out of town.
Do these city lines of Irvington are going to get more patrol than the rest of Maplewood?
It's a random patrol pattern, except when we have identified an area where we will apply resources because of either an intelligence information or a past crime. I think that's it for today. Thank you very much.
Very much.